This is John Strohmeyer, and we're coming to you live from Clio Cloud Conference 2022 in Nashville, Tennessee. We have a lot of great interviews this week. Looking forward to sharing them with you. Nika Kabiri.
Hi.
Welcome. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you for having me stop by.
You are one of the newest Cleons.
I am.
And you are the one who took over the job of doing the research for the Legal Trends Report from Josh Lennon.
Actually, that's not true.
Oh, good. Correct me.
That is not true. I have been working with Clio as a consultant and as a kind of a vendor researcher now for 6 or 7 years. So from the moment that Clio started incorporating data outside of their own, internal data, I led all their research for that. And Joshua is one of the folks that I worked with to make sure that the data we were collecting was relevant to the storyline and the narrative that they want to tell, or the research questions they had to ask. So I'm new to Clio, but I'm not. Okay. I'm a new employee, but I'm older to Clio than probably a large majority of Cleons. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, here you are. You're now officially.
I'm officially
inside the
They
tent.
sucked me in. I couldn't resist eventually.
And when we talked to Josh last week, getting a preview of this year's Legal Trends Report, the thing he said we needed to talk to you about, the clickbaity title of The 6 Factors Clients Use When Hiring a Law Firm.
That's very sexy, isn't it?
It is, and now we want to know, Nika.
We want to know.
What are the 6 things that clients care about?
Okay, so first, to back up a little bit, there are so many things that could be a variable. And in our research, because of the methodology we used, we couldn't test all of them. So I just want to be very clear. Just because I'm not mentioning something like, whether or not you speak English or a language other than English, or whether you've been sanctioned, some of these things also matter. But what we really wanted to know was, does it matter that you have commercial office space in this post-COVID world? Like, are consumers or our clients judging you on that? Does it matter now that we are all kind of more virtual and it's possible to represent clients that are not living in the same city as you? Is that going to be a plus if you do that? What about working after hours or in, on weekends or something like that? And being available, online or virtually. So we kind of wanted to know how important some of those things were that are newer to the post-COVID environment, and whether they're going to make or break your ability to get hired. And when we did this research, we compared that to 2 things that we knew for a fact were going to impact hireability, because everyone knows this is the case, and we've done lots of research on it. And one is your reviews. Reviews have consistently, not only research done by us, but by many other sources on business generally, reviews matter, and also responsiveness. We learned from a Legal Trends report, I think it was 2018, that if you are hyper responsive, you can be more hireable. And what we found was that reviews are still so much more important than anything else. That if you don't have commercial office space, don't work on the weekends, don't represent anyone outside of your neighborhood block, you can still do well and be hireable if you have very strong reviews.
And so let's dig into what that means.
Yeah.
At a first glance, is it a raw number of reviews? Does it, I imagine even if it is, it probably gets scaled for your locality. If you're in a big city, you probably need more. If you're in small jurisdiction or small, more rural area, you'll probably need few. But tell me, is there a magic number to aim for?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. And I don't have answers from this research, but I have done consumer research now for 15 or so years. I'm a decision scientist by trade as well, so I understand how people make decisions. And based on all of that knowledge, I know for a fact that a lot of it is category specific as far as the number. If you are a chain restaurant, you definitely want a larger number than if you're a lawyer. People are savvy to that. But I think more than anything, it's the specificity of the content of the review. Time and again, and I've done research on this for, huge companies that I can't name, but time and again, people want to see reviews that are very kind of custom tailored to their experiences. Like, for instance, imagine if you bought a product, like an Apple product, a laptop, hearing someone review the way the package, looks, and opening it up and then setting it up, and just you can experience that, you can see that and feel that through with them. That's sort of what they want to hear. Very, yeah.
Right. And so, as we think about owners who are listening to this podcast, they're running their own practice, they need to go get these reviews.
Yeah.
It's not just the number, it's making sure your client, whoever it is that's reviewing you, is putting in the right comments so people know, because it's a signal to future clients more than it's something that you need right now.
Pretty much, which it's not just about asking your clients, hey, will you write a review for me and will you be specific? I mean, that's not really where it's at. It doesn't really kind of work very well. It's really setting the whole experience up as a legitimately good experience, providing your clients with service that really resonates with them in a way that they'd be willing to share with other people, which means delivering on the things that matter. Responsiveness is one of them. Great, like drive. I've talked to many consumers who have said, I don't care how old or young my lawyer is, if they have enough experience and they have enough drive, if they have energy, like show them that energy. Show them that you care, that you'll go. Another thing that I hear people say is a lawyer that goes above and beyond. Like, you can tell he's not just going to do the minimum. And if you do the things that they really want, then they're going to they're more likely to share that.
Right, and the way I think about it, obviously we're trying to deliver on that all day, every day for our clients. But when we send them the review link, it's not just, hey, leave us a review. It's, here are possibly too many questions, but it's 8 questions just prompting them for those words.
100%. And this is why I also highly recommend, in addition to asking clients to give public reviews, for firms and practices to offer like quick surveys. Like, how did we do surveys that aren't just a question and an email, but that do have various metrics that have them rate. Like, how did we do on responsiveness? How did we do on bedside manner? Did you feel like you were covered during the whole experience? And I think also, if you really pay attention to behavioral economics, I think what this does is it triggers for them this recollection of the experience, so that after the survey is completed, now that you've done the survey and we've asked you these specific questions, now go write a review. They're more likely to write a review based on those metrics you just asked about, because it's top of mind, right? So it's a little bit of a nudge or a trick, but it's a kind of a nice soft way of saying, here's what I really want you to write about in your review.
Right. And then thinking about this, does it matter what the review score is? Is a 4.9 might as well be 0, or is a 4?
Oh no, 4.9 is great. 4.8 is great. 5.0 is suspicious. 5.0, and because no one's perfect, and again, this is not just my I'm not just pulling this out of thin air. I've researched consumers, spoken to consumers who have specifically said to me, a perfect review means, a perfect 5 means that it's been bought. And people know this. Like, people know that companies buy reviews, and if there is at least 1 or 2 negative ones, but enough positive ones to overwhelm the negative ones, then it feels like it's authentic, and that matters a lot more than perfection.
Right, and don't be afraid. From my time working for the Four Seasons, everything was not always perfect there. As bad as somebody can imagine a stay going, I can assure you there was a wedding where a sewer pipe broke above the ballroom.
Oh, yeah.
And they were still back.
Right.
They still came back a year later. Things will happen.
And consumers are patient, so don't freak out. Don't freak out over that negative review.
Right. So reviews, number 1, we need to make sure that we're getting them. Obviously, we want to make sure that we're doing the right things to get mostly 5 stars.
Right.
But except if somebody gives you a 4-star, you don't need to close the practice down or close down your Google account and start over.
Or even worse, don't call the guy up or the client up and, freak out on them, right? just cool your jets, be chill, it's cool.
Right. So reviews are still number 1. If you're not getting those, then we need to focus on that. Number 2, responsiveness.
Responsiveness, man. I mean, it's, and I have to say, I have tons of experiences of my own that I've paid attention to since we've done this research for Clio, where, you reach out to a company or you reach out to professional, my accountant. I fired my last accountant because of their lack of responsiveness. It's just a universal need. And, straight from the behavioral sciences, we hate uncertainty. People, just as a general rule, are very uncomfortable with uncertainty. And when you layer on top of that a legal need that is really very important to you and you don't know what's going to happen and your lawyer isn't getting back to you about what is next or what the status is, it can freak a person out more than a lawyer could ever imagine. Because it's, for a lawyer, it's just one of many cases. But this is their one thing, your client's one thing. So it's less about being quick. It's more about giving them that security. Like, it's covered. I'm covering you, and being quick to respond is just a signal of that.
Right, and just thinking, going way off topic, H.P. Lovecraft said somewhere, he has a quote about man's greatest fear is the fear of the unknown, and what did he write about? He wrote about the big, awful things that live in the shadows.
Right.
And here we are, here our clients are, they have the big shadow in their life that is what happens in this legal matter, and when we're not there to shine a light on it and say there are no monsters, they're catastrophizing into exactly how bad things are going to be.
100%. And even if you don't feel like it's your job to provide that sense of security and calm and comfort for them, and even if you don't want to do it, you kind of have to, not only because it makes them feel better, but also because it doesn't blow back on you. Because then you don't get, reviews and responsiveness related. You don't get bad reviews. You don't get a client that makes it harder for you to help them. You suffer the consequences too as an attorney.
Right, and just thinking about my practice and what we're doing now, taking it to, we're having structured communications go out by email to clients at various stages, and making sure, if you need to talk about it, here's the link to schedule your immediate call.
Absolutely.
Just so people know immediately, like, this is what you need to do. Okay, so those are the two, reviews and responsiveness, they were pre-pandemic. The new 4 things that we're thinking, they're not just post-COVID, but it seems like they may have taken on or shifted their meaning as a result of it.
Yeah, and I honestly, because I don't have the report in front of me, I don't remember their order of importance, and I'm sorry, I don't know if that's a problem. But the bottom,
we know what 1 and 2 are, so we're not going to worry about the exact order.
The important takeaway really is, if you are wondering, because there are a lot of things have changed since COVID. Work and life are totally meshed together. Your kids are now sitting on your lap while you're trying to type an email, and it's just kind of a big mess. There's no separation of work and home, or less, so separation of work and personal life. So one is tempted to think, well, do clients expect you to be available at all hours of the day because work life is totally meshed together? And the answer is, yeah, but it's not as important as these things that have always mattered, which is, reviews and responsiveness. Same with commercial office space. Do I have to go spend money again on, renting an office space just to make myself seem hireable? And only if your reviews suck, basically. If your reviews suck, then you might want to go that route. But if you are doing a good job as an attorney, then you don't need to do that.
And that kind of ties into, the responsiveness and the after hours almost seem like they're tied together, but you have to balance it. And what I've found with my own clients who, because I'm doing trust and estates, these are clients who are paying with their own money. They understand it's their personal work. They're not always going to be able to take time off. So we do have Sunday meetings available for clients. Right. We have time on Sunday for client calls, but it's not every day Sunday. I have for years said Saturdays are my day.
Right.
And I will get up, I will check email once in the morning on Saturday, and unless there's a fire that I need to send that email right now, I assume that client knows it can wait until Sunday or even Monday. It's the weekend.
It's the weekend. And that's a really great kind of a message that you're bringing up or a point that you're bringing up. Well, two of them actually. It was just how responsive do you have to be? You don't have to respond like I do to my mom when she texts me. She expects a response like right away or she thinks I'm going to die. It's not like that.
Right.
You can respond within 24 hours and most clients will be okay. You can even respond and say, hey, I confirm that I've gotten this email or I confirm that I've gotten this. I will respond to you in full in 24 hours and then really do commit to that. They just want to know you're there. And the other thing is that if you don't protect your time, you're no good to your clients. You've got to protect your time.
Exactly. I mean, again, coming back to the fear of the unknown, as long as they know they've been heard.
100%. That's really what they want to know.
Right. And so, yeah, office space, going back to that, I like that you're saying, well, look, you may be able to cover over some service blemishes with some spit shine.
Yeah.
But thinking back to my hotel days, guests weren't coming to the Four Seasons because it had the fabulous, the brass and the gold and the glass. They were coming for the humans who were going to deliver things to them. Yes, it helped that it was in Hawaii or Austin, fabulous location, but that was secondary. It was the people who were delivering it.
Absolutely. And again, if we can go back to behavioral economics, people don't really make rational decisions most of the time, and one way in which they use mental shortcuts and make less rational decisions is through substitution questions. So in other words, rather than asking, is this hotel going to give me the service I want? They don't know that. They haven't been there yet. They'll look at pictures and say, oh, wow, this is a fancy hotel. A hotel that looks like that is going to give me the service that I want.
Right.
So it's kind of a substitution. They use a question that's easier to answer. A lot of these things are definitely correlated, but you are absolutely right. At the core of everything we do, we are human beings. We crave connection that is predictable, that gives us security, that lets us know exactly what's going on. That's why integrity matters. I say this all the time. Say what you mean, do what you say. That's the core of trust.
Right.
Yeah.
And looking at our last things.
Oh, billing type. Sorry,
billing
did I
type.
just say that really loud? For years, and I've been doing research in the legal space for years now, starting with Avo, and I remember, a decade ago, lawyers talking about we've got to get away from hourly billing. We've got to do more flat fee services. And I did a ton of research at Avo, which I think has been published here or there, that has said, that the reason why people love flat fee services, for instance, is because there's predictability in it. Just like I mentioned with responsiveness, people like to know what to expect. They don't like to be uncertain. And when you bill hourly, the bill at the end is a complete question mark. But with flat fee, it's not. So after all of these years, are lawyers waking up and offering these alternative, billing structures like flat fee or subscriptions or things that might be more conducive to what a customer needs versus what's better for your bottom line? And if you don't offer these services, how is that going to hurt you? And that is also not as important as reviews. I still would argue that for so many reasons, if you can offer predictability, if you can offer certainty, you are going to relieve the stress of your clients, and they're going to make better decisions for their case, because stress leads to impulsivity, stress leads to poor decision making. I did an entire talk at Avo for the Lawyeronomics at this years ago. So you want to keep your client as stress-free as possible, and one way to do that is to not freak them out with the bill.
Right.
Just don't do that.
Right. Since I've moved almost everything to flat fee, it has made it so much easier. I know at the end of the month, I don't have to worry about running time, spell checking those entries, because the clients have already paid. It takes stress off of me because I don't have to hit send and then dive under my desk and avoid what the hell
Exactly.
Where did this come from? Clients know up front, yes, we're trading away certainty, but I look at it as I am showing how much of an expert I am because I can tell you what this will cost.
Exactly. I think a lot of lawyers, and you can tell me if I'm right or not, they're resistant to making that switch because they think they cannot predict what the thing, and you can't perfectly, but it all comes out in the wash, right? Some cases will take less time than you bill for, you charge for. Some will take more, and just think about it in the market research industry, where I worked for so many years. Everything's flat fee. Sometimes you're working, you get scope creep, and sometimes you don't. But at the end, you're always hitting a profit. what's the stress about?
And that's it exactly. It's taking the stress out of it. I know for every 10 clients, 7 of them were going to just be, kind of like absurdly profitable on an hourly model.
Yeah.
2 of them will be about where we should be, and 1 of them causes us to question our pricing structure. And we'll reevaluate, but I know like the ones where it's super easy for us, they're subsidizing the ones who need more. It allows us to more effectively deliver for all of our clients. So, Nika, why don't you go ahead and pull all 6 of these points back together, start with the most important, and work your way down.
Okay, and just to once again clarify, we could only test 6. There are other things that matter, but of these 6, relative to each other, the most important is client reviews. So if you had a scale from 1 to 10, client reviews would get you from 0 to 5. That's how far client reviews get you. And then from 5 to about 6.5, or 6.5, yes, it's where you live. It's the same state, the same city. Now, the fact that a lot of laws are local, that makes a lot of sense, right? And then next is response time. That'll get you another 1.5 points up the scale. And then after that, it's billing type. It's a little under a point. And then scheduling for availability. And having an office is actually so insignificant relative to everything else that if you look at the pie chart on it, there isn't even room for the number. It's that insignificant. So if you want a home office, save that money on overhead. Get some software instead that will help you do it on the go.
Nika, so much fun. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening. You can find more info on us and get your free white paper on client service at 5starcounsel.com. You can get in touch with me at john@5starcounsel.com. If you enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe wherever fine podcasts are found and leave us a review wherever you can.